Well, I have acquired yet another Hunter original. This one here being polished brass from 1989. This one has a roughly 4-foot down rod, I want to say. And as you can see, this fan is very clean. And the reason why it is so clean is because I spent a very long time taking it apart and scrubbing it, because when I found this fan from Facebook Marketplace, it was a total disaster. The grease buildup was unbelievable. All over the switch cap, the switch housing, the faceplate, the blade worms, I mean everything. This whole rotor and the inside of there was just like 50 pounds of dust in there. It was crazy. Top side of the blades, for once, have no sealing paint on them. And all the way up there is the canopy. Canopy only has 2 screws. It only has 1 screw holding the 2 pieces together, and on the other side it has 1 screw, if you look closely, attaching it to the down rod, because it was missing screws. Those are just ones that I had. Now real quick before we get started, I'm going to show some pictures of the fan when I first got it. So here's those pictures. So that's pretty much that. If you look very closely, you will see how much dust was in the top of the motor. You will see that the switch housing looked antique brass. That's how bad it was. There was a bunch of dirt and grass and whatnot stuck to the switch cap. I was trying to rub it off. It would not come off. It was really stuck on there. So, like I said, I ended up removing the entire switch housing and cleaning out the oil cup, because that was a total disaster. In fact, the original oil was a brownish orange color. It was really bad, and just like chunks of God knows what in there. And one more thing, when you wash these, you got to be very careful, because this finish isn't real brass. In fact, it's tinted lacquer over nickel plate. So what I'm saying is it rubs off very easily. So you got to be very delicate with it. If you're scrubbing it, I use dish soap, and yeah, you just got to be really careful, and you'll be fine. I think that's low. Yeah, this is low. This thing is hanging almost all the way down to the floor. And it's only buzzing because it's on a solid state. Also, one thing to note, I always test fans before I begin any kind of work on them. I always test them how they are when I get them. And one thing is that I noticed is it would not reverse. Well, it was stuck in reverse. You put the switch down for downdraft, it wouldn't go into downdraft. It would just sit there and hum and do nothing. So that was weird. I ended up taking the reverse switch apart, or not taking the switch itself apart, But when I was taking the switch housing off, I ended up damaging one of the terminals in the reverse switch. It's basically kind of like a pull chain switch. You stick a pin in there and the wire pops out. But I bent the contact way back on one wire, and it basically screwed it up. It wouldn't reverse to begin with because the contacts were dirty. So I just cleaned the contacts and that fixed that issue. But now the other issue was I damaged that one terminal that the wire went into. So at the end of the video, I'm going to show how I resolved that issue. And this is still the original reverse switch as well. It's very still. Doesn't wobble at all. It's only moving because how the mount is up there. So as it's spinning down, I'll explain more of that reverse switch. There are 6 wires that go into the reverse switch. 2 on top, 2 on the bottom, 2 in the middle. So what ended up happening was they're very thin wires. So since I damaged that contact, I damaged it so bad that I had to use a 12 gauge piece of Romex in order to make it work. And then I had to super glue that piece of Romex into place. So it's super solid, it's not going anywhere, but I had to wire nut the original wire to that Romex and stick the Romex into the damaged terminal on the reverse switch. So now it's spinned all the way down, so I'm going to show that picture right now. So that's pretty much that. I think I covered just about everything with this fan. I took some compressed air and that's how I blew all that dust out of the top of it. I ended up taking the faceplate off as well, scrubbed that out inside and out. So pretty much the entire thing, and even the canopy. I did the same thing with the canopy. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got. And also, not that this matters, but somebody ran, my wiring is a mess, but I don't know how well you can see it, but somebody ran Romex up through this down rod. Yeah, that's not really important, I'm just pointing that out. That's about all I got for this 1989 polished brass Hunter original.